guys are on the come up now. I'm telling you, Seattle, to me, could make noise in 2022 if they have the right trigger man. And I'm not going to sit here and pan Baker Mayfield because I like Baker. But if you're giving me the pick between those two guys, especially when you're talking about Jimmy Garoppolo's football intangibles, his football character, just talk to people out in San Francisco and or New England about what they think about Jimmy Garoppolo. They love him. And I mean love with a capital L. There is no BS surrounding him. There's no owners making comments about the fact that we need an adult at the position. Nobody's saying anything like that. This guy in that division with that coach, if he can stay healthy, and you can get him on a team-friendly contract, okay? I'm not saying that Jimmy should be paid $25 million a year. I mean, let's not be foolish here. If he gets cut, you can get him. That team could make noise in 2022 and still wouldn't hamstring them from doing anything they want to do in 2023 at quarterback if, in fact, he doesn't pan out. Yeah, you kind of get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I love the argument. Again, talking to Louis Riddick, and as we've gone over it and chatted with listeners and sort of taken their feedback, there's sort of maybe two objections. One is that they just don't believe in Jimmy, or that when you get him away from Kyle Shanahan, maybe he won't be as successful as he's been the last couple of years. The other is that it's not worth a marginal few extra wins for a team that probably isn't going to compete for a Super Bowl either way. And if that's the case, are you better off kind of suffering through next year and ending up somewhere near the top of the draft and trying to get your long-term option?
Well, let me ask you this. The question I would ask is this: what's not worth a marginal few? So in the NFL, it's not worth winning more games at a cost that is palatable to you and does not hamstring you from a salary cap and or draft capital perspective. It's not worth it to get, quote unquote, a marginal few wins. So what are we saying? Like, this team couldn't win 10 plus if Jimmy was there? I believe it could. And if the contract is right, look, you're not trading for him. You're signing him. San Francisco will never trade him in Seattle. Okay, we know that. You're not trading for him. We're saying if he hits the market, he starts throwing, his shoulder proves to be ready to go for 2022, and you sign him to a team-friendly contract that you have some protections built in the event that he is not available and on the football field. If you drafted right now, and look, I think the 2023 draft class of quarterbacks, obviously, when it gets around to that and we start covering that again, people are going to get all excited and stumble all over themselves over the potential of that draft class. And I get it. C.J. Stroud is a hell of a prospect. Bryce Young is a hell of a prospect. But the NFL is a year-to-year league in terms of, you need to be able to try and win as many games as possible. And if you can do that without hamstringing yourself in terms of your future, I think you do that. I look, really what I was trying to say when I was talking about this was the fact that Seattle gets overlooked in the NFC West, and they've been overlooked now for the past couple of years to the degree where this was a team at one time that was considered to be the bosses out there. And I think it could turn very quickly in their favor again based off of some of the work they've done in the draft if it all hits properly, which, hey, I'm an optimist, and I like the players they drafted.
Well, so is Pete.
Really do.
Pete's an optimist too,
yeah.
and what you just said about the year-to-year league and the marginal few wins. I mean, obviously that's right up Pete's alley, and ultimately I think that's why I side with the idea of going after a better quarterback right now. Is if your motto is compete every day, you can't sell that as a philosophy to your players in your locker room if you're not going out and making every effort to upgrade the most important position in sports.
I couldn't agree with you more. And there's no guarantee that you'll get one of the quarterbacks next year. And there's just not. I'm telling you, see, I know Jimmy, it's funny. See, sometimes narratives and or opinions take on a life of their own with certain players. And look, I know there is hard evidence that Jimmy has had some bad luck from a durability and availability standpoint. There's stuff that I just can't dispute. I know there have been turnover-worthy plays this year that could have resulted in catastrophic interceptions for San Francisco that didn't. And I know we can point to them. I've seen them. I've watched them. I've watched them all. That's my job. I know what we're talking about. But what I'm not talking about. Let's go and sign Jimmy Garoppolo to a $25 million a year contract. $23 million a year. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a team-friendly, incentive-laden contract where Jimmy goes, hey, you know what? I'm in a division that I'm familiar with. I'm with the coach that I'm familiar with. I'm in a system that really suits what I have excelled in. Strong running game, real good out perimeter playmakers on the edge as far as the wide receivers are concerned. An up-and-coming defense now being led by a new defensive coordinator that has drafted some studs. Look, I just mentioned Boye Mafe. Kobe Bryant is going to be a stud. He's going to be a stud. And, of course, I've heard some real good things. And I'll tell you what, Tariq Woolen, oh, boy. They may have struck absolute platinum with this guy. Platinum. Former wide receiver. You know the story.
Oh, yeah.
Just physical skills out the wazoo. Seattle, I think, is a sleeping giant that needs to develop these other young players and get that quarterback position straight. I just think a guy like Jimmy, with his leadership, how people in San Francisco rallied around him, players love playing for him. That sounds like exactly like something that Seattle could use, especially with the young football.